get a drill.
Freedom is very fragile. It's more fragile when we don't know the truth. You're about to be part of FramersView, where truth is the foundation of every day's program. Join us live every weekday right here on Rumble at 1 p.m. Eastern. Now, here's Neil Frame on FramersView.
The studio's open. You're here. Welcome to the show. It is FramersView Friday edition. Yikes. Did this week go fast, or is it just me? I think it's just me. I mean, Monday, and then all of a sudden it's Friday. Well, I don't know what to tell you. And it's pizza night. So, what more could we ask for? Welcome to the show. Hey, this is, things are getting better. And the last thing the Dems want you to know is that that's happening. And so there are some fascinating challenges and changes that are occurring. And I'm really having fun with this basically this whole week, because they have so many problems that they're not really sure how to handle. And here's what I mean by that. So number one, you got the mess with Platner. Number two, you got the mess with El Sayed, who's doing some stuff. We'll be talking about that. Yeah. Number three, you have the problem in Maine of how are they going to decide who the next candidate is, and not do the same thing they did with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for the presidential election, which honestly, I don't know how they can put an election together to get the primary to decide who's going to be the Senate candidate before, I think it's the 27th of July. And if I look at my calendar here, that's about 17 days away. So, they've got themselves in their own problem, and they supported this guy. They pushed him and pushed him and pushed him, kept pushing on, it's all BS, until a Democrat said, yeah, he raped me. And then they looked at the polls and went, this guy can't beat Susan Collins. And I don't know if anybody can at this point. I hope not. But they've got a problem. So we got a bunch of stuff today, man. We're going to talk about the bad things, the good things, the possibilities, things to watch out for, things that you need to pay attention to, that when we're talking on the show, we can clear it up. If you comment, love comments. I try to reply to all the comments, and also, the chats. Every once in a while, when I've got time, I take a look at my other screen and I look at the chats, and I see something. I try to respond to that while the show's going on, or say something about it. It's a big day for a Friday. I want you all to know it's going to help the libs by telling them the truth once you take your crayon and write down the notes from the show. So hope you do that. We're going to talk about tax benefits, another thing that the Dems don't want you to know about. But it's happening, and it's good news. The naysayers are naysaying the naysayers, and I got great evidence of that. It may be a ceasefire with this Iran deal. Man, I'm a doer. I don't want to compare myself to Trump, but he's a doer, and I'm a doer. If something's got to get done, do it. If it's painful, okay, do it. And right now, because I don't know everything about what Trump's doing, because he doesn't call me, I don't understand it. I texted him my phone number. He hasn't called me. I don't get it. I'd put him on the air. He's not going to call me. But he knows that there's nothing you can do, with this crazy regime in Iran. And so he's giving peace a chance, and he's given peace a chance before. And I think in the end, he's going to figure out somehow to be able to arm and protect the citizens and blow this regime up. Because I don't know that there's another option. You can't control them. Their hate is beyond hate. It's kind of like Robertson, the guy that shot Charlie Kirk. He said that he shot Charlie Kirk. He said to his lover, the guy was living with, he said, "I can't stand the hate." And then he took his hate and went and shot Charlie Kirk. Doesn't have to make sense, as I've said before. Ro Khanna, grifters, El Sayed, all causing a big problem, not for the Republicans, but for the Democrats. Because right now, the shift that's occurring is honestly a shift that I'm not sure they know how to fix. And if I were on their side of it, I don't know how I'd do it either, because first of all, you let this happen. The first one was Platner, not the first one, but the big one was Platner, where the people that were vetting him laughed about how the vetting worked. They weren't serious. They have that problem. Now you got this El Sayed thing in Detroit, the Dearborn area, running for Senate. And he's a nut job. We'll show that today. That's coming up. And it's crazy. The Trump accounts, first of all, are working. The millions of people that have already invested. And I've got a little chart to show you what the possibilities are with this. This is a big deal. Big deal. There's other nonsense that's going on. Voter IDs, silly California thoughts. And Nick Shirley takes us into the weekend. But first, hey, gang, it's Friday, and we'd like to, just kind of walk away from all of this nonsense for Saturday and Sunday and just kind of forget about it. I can't do that, but maybe you can. But here's the thing. The silliness, the corruptness of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. So you may have heard that this guy pardoned a guy, an illegal, a rapist, child rapist. He pardoned him so that ICE could not deport him. And now the greatest Secretary of State ever, in my opinion, has deported him. Said, no, pardons don't work with people that aren't citizens. You can't pardon somebody that's not part of America. So he launched him. He's out of here. And that's got to, think about this. You have people in these blue states, and especially blue cities, that are releasing people that are murderers, rapists, just the worst of the worst. They don't report them to ICE. They just release them. And I would suggest that when you release them, for the first, let's say 60 days, to make sure that, they're okay and everything, they should have to live with the person that released them. Just here, you go live with the mayor. Stay in his bedroom, feed him meals, take care of him for the next 60 days. It's okay. He's a nice guy. All he did was murder somebody. And I've got some videos today of the claiming that ICE is killing innocent people. Does anybody really believe that ICE is just flat out pulling their pistol and shooting people just for the hell of it? If you believe that, you need to move to another country because you clearly don't love America. You don't understand what's going on. You have no clue what's happening. I've mentioned that I was involved in politics many years ago. I've been away from it for a long time, not as a candidate, but as a candidate's helper, I would call it. I wasn't the campaign manager. I was relatively high in the group, but I wanted nothing to do with the management. I didn't have time. But the point is, there were bad people and people that threatened people back then. We're talking back in the 80s, early 80s. That was nothing to what it is today. That was nothing by comparison to the threats that occur. Now the Israelis have told America that they have got information, if you will, about Iran's new secret plan to kill Trump. And that wouldn't surprise me any. They're probably coming in through the northern border now. And it's scary. If Trump gets assassinated, that could be serious problem. And what do you think J.D. Vance is going to do? A retired Marine, the Vice President of the United States, a no-nonsense guy like Trump, and a Secretary of State with the biggest nads on the planet. I mean, Rubio is starting to get some traction that's making it hard for J.D. Vance. But I can guarantee you, if somebody is stupid enough to try to kill Trump or does kill him, life will not be good for the other side. So with all that and looking at it, it's not all bad. It just isn't. There are some good things. And I have things to show you today and share with you that give you hope and make you wonder how in the hell things like this can happen. And we all understand that. But this first piece I want to show you is about the tax cuts, because this is the positive part. The people who hate America, of course, they probably don't pay tax because they don't have a job. Mommy and daddy are taking care of them in their basement. They don't have to have a job because they're getting money from George Soros and other groups like that. This is the problem that we have today. And when it's this bad, that these people are doing the things that they're doing, that they're carrying on the way that they're carrying on, the problem with that is this, that they are putting everybody else in a bad spot when they lie to people that don't know the truth. But this tax thing is a big deal. Take a look at this. So this is the working families tax cut. So working class families owe 0%, and that 0% is for anybody that makes $75,000 or less. Zero tax. The increase in annual tax take home for a family of four is $10,900. So $1,000 basically, well, $900 and some dollars extra a month that you have because guess what? You're not paying all the taxes because of the tax cut. There's a 1.3% rise in taxes for the millionaires. Think about that. Then billionaires are paying 3% more. I'm sorry, I did that backwards. The 1.3 rise in real income under the President Trump compared to the 1.6 decline under Joe Biden. Then there's a 3% increase in taxes for the wealthy from 37 to 40%. But the billionaires and the millionaires don't pay their fair share. And over the next, 4 years, $1 trillion in taxes increase, with all the people that deserve a break getting it, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, unless you're, of course, in states like Colorado and California, where they say, yeah, screw that, you have to pay taxes anyway. But these are the problems that are occurring, but the positives. This is a big positive. This list that you see on this screen is a big deal, but the Dems don't want people to know that because that's bad for them. That's terrible for them because they have nothing to say. Think about this. When you have literally nothing to say that's positive for your campaign, for your group, what do? Well, you try to cover it up. You immediately, when things get bad for you, you bring up the Epstein files. You bring up Epstein Island. You infer that Trump was involved, which everybody knows he wasn't, but they're not going to admit that. Not going to do it. So these are the things that we go through every day during this show and when I'm preparing stuff. And I look at all of this happening. And there's even times I get a little down on it. And then I think to myself, because I'm an athlete. Well, I'm not an old guy now, but when I was an athlete, you think you win all the time? You don't. Do you think Trump wins all the time? Do you think he says, hell with it, let's pack up and leave? Did I ever want to walk off the field because there's no chance of winning? You can't give up because the other side is the worst side. You have to believe. So the Democrats and the press, especially on the conservative side, are saying this is all a problem for the establishment Democrats. And I've talked about this before, but it's important to talk about this now. This isn't just these young punk DSA people. By the way, they picked DSA because the letters are in order, not in order, but they could just hit them all at the same time on the keyboard. So you took a DSA, the Democrat Socialist Party. These people aren't just the ones, the establishment people, the Ro Khannas, the Chuck Schumers, the Hakeem Jeffries. They act like they care, but they don't. And it started with somebody that we all know that, of course, has made a massive amount of money in investments while she's been in office over 623 years. I think she started making a lot of money when she invested in some of the arms race stuff that was going on during Lincoln's, when he was with the Civil War. When she was involved with that, she didn't do anything during the Civil War? I was just saying something in my ear. She wasn't alive? Oh, okay. Maybe she didn't do it then. But look at Nancy Pelosi in 2024.
It was necessary for me to run again because my goal was to make sure that what's his name never stepped foot in the White House again. And that was part of my mission for the children. I went from housewife to House member to House Speaker for the children.
I had to run because I had to do it for the children. What children? For her children who are 40 or 50 years old? It just always goes. One of my favorite people on the planet, and not only my favorite people on the planet, but a close dear friend, Genesee boy, said everyone should go and vote with their money dollars and see Young Washington this weekend, the movie. It's probably right. I should do that. That'd be a nice break for the weekend. Go and see a movie, get some popcorn, Coke, sit down, watch a movie. It'd only be $70 or so. Well, that's after Marie buys all her candy, because the candy bars are like $42 a piece at the theaters. But we should go see it. It's worth it. George Washington. Go see the movie. I love Genesee Boy. He contributes a lot. And one of my best friends, if not the best. So here's the deal. Nancy is doing everything back in 24 for the children. She's about to end her reign as a Democrat politician. I believe she's actually leaving at the end of this term. She might figure out a way to not leave. But this whole idea she had to run for the children, she had to run because she has power and she can't give it up. But I mentioned to you, it's the establishment and DSA, the young people, the freaks, the clown shows, the blue hairs, the long hairs, the LGBTQs, the transitioners, all the weird people. And I've got some video of this. And this is just classic stuff, but it's scary. And this is why voting is so important, and being, educated of what's going on. Be informed. Watch this video, because this really is what these people believe and think. And there's way more than you think. Watch this.
And, we have a unique responsibility to act from the heart of empire, the belly of the beast. The most important thing that we can do is take that empire down from within.
Our role ultimately is to facilitate our own empire's failure in ways that we can, ultimately to overthrow our own empire.
U.S. imperialism is not a thing that can be reformed away. It has to be overthrown through revolutionary struggle.
And to build a mass movement that can use the leverage of workers to hit the kill switch on American imperialism here within the American empire.
Those last two, Hazel and Sarah, that ain't Hazel and Sarah. It's crazy. These people that they've gone off the rail. I feel sorry for these people, because first of all, the ones that have transitioned or in the process of transition or just like to dress up like little girls, excuse me, I feel kind of sorry for them. They need help. Now, I have people in my family who are gay, and they've said many times, I wish I wasn't, but I can't help it. It's who I am. I get that. And I get it that there's some people that think they're men or think they're women when they're the opposite. But it isn't these numbers. These are not the numbers. Now we have the people that are upset about the fact they've transitioned, and now they're trying to detransition and try to get back their life. And now they're talking about, we have to change America. We have to stop everything that's successful, because they don't think there's any success. They don't think that Trump is a success. They don't think that he's doing anything. They think that he hurts America. They think that he's destroying Palestine, even though there is no Palestine. I would make you look back in history and understand there was no Israel until Israel right now. They basically walked around on the planet and had no place to be. And wherever they went, they were killed, murdered, destroyed, abused, whipped, put in chains. And finally, they got a little space that's about the size of my house, and they call it Israel, and they have a place to live now. Palestinians don't have that. Should they have that? Maybe, but they don't have it. So to say free Palestine, there is no Palestine. There are Palestinians, but these people that are doing these things that are not looking serious, when it's a guy in a woman's dress, woman's hairdo, they take all the seriousness away from people that don't believe it. Most everyone is accepting gay people now because they're just people. But these people are clowns. They're putting on a show because they think they can control you by being this way, because you can't say anything about them. And if they were in front of me, I'd say, get a life, get some help. Clearly, you can't find yourself. And where were your parents? Maybe they are people that need to transition. I think it's clear that, Caitlin, when she was in the Olympics, he was in the Olympics, long hair, flowing hair. There were some signs, but here we are, craziness. So nothing's going on, and that's why these people are doing what they're doing. We have to stop Trump because he doesn't accomplish anything anyway, and he's dangerous. Well, let's talk about the accomplishment side of it. And does he get things done? Was Biden better? People think Biden actually did more and did a better job. Well, let's see that.
How big of a difference? To me, it seems like it had to have been, and pun intended, flipping a light switch going from Joe Biden to Donald Trump.
It was. With Biden in office, everything was like wading up a continual stream of concrete, wet concrete. It was just so hard to get done, unless, of course, it was an irresponsible, quote, green energy deal, and then they were happy to skip all the regulations. So it was ironic how all that comes back to ask. But it's so much better with Trump in office. We're excited. Drill, baby, drill. Let's get this energy independence, manufacturing independence. We're calling it elemental independence with our rare earth minerals, and it's time to just go and be able to rely and stand on our own 2 feet.
Now, this is a lady that's a commissioner of land in Texas that buys hundreds of thousands of acres to keep the Chinese who are trying to buy that land from buying it. China's trying to buy America while nobody's looking, while some real estate agent puts a deal together and makes huge commission and doesn't care. Or they're part of the movement. There are movements you don't want to be under, and I won't explain that any further, but that's what their movement is. Should I explain that? Sometimes I go too far off the edge there and people don't get it. We've really got that same thing happening in the North, in the Dakotas, where they were buying, they being China, buying farmland. They're always, interestingly, close to a military base. Is that what we want? I don't think so. I don't think we want that at all. In fact, I know we don't want that. So Trump is an interesting character in this. First of all, people say, well, he was a bad guy. He was just as bad as Platner. Well, no, probably not. There's nobody he's raped, including E. Jean Carroll, just in case you wondered what I think about that. And I'm going to go on a side thing on this. If E. Jean Carroll was raped in a dressing room in a department store, let's assume that happened. So he went in to this dressing room and raped her. She never made a sound. Security that's in the store never heard it, because there's always somebody around that area that's their job is to keep those kind of things from happening. She never made a sound. She never cried out. She wasn't upset when she came out of the dressing room. Somehow Trump came out and nobody saw him. But she got raped. Come on. This is another game, but it's millions of dollars out of Trump's pocket. And they can all claim that he's a rapist. So he gets things done, but he's not the corrupt person everybody says he is. And this thing with Iran is another example of what he says you should believe. You've heard the Democrats say, well, when they say it, you better believe it, about the campaign, whatever campaign it might be. You probably want to believe Trump when he says, you're going to pay for this. And right now, I think it was 50 or 70 some missiles that were shot last night. Maybe it was more than that. But when he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. He's been trying to give peace a chance. It's not working out. So this is kind of a believe him moment. Watch this.
The ceasefire is over, and yes, the U.S. launched a new wave of airstrikes on Iran, even larger than the night before. CENTCOM says that U.S. forces struck 90 targets, including air defense systems and military infrastructure, on Iran's coastline last night, plus 2 railway bridges used to transport weapons. Iran responded to the strikes by launching attacks on Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. While gas climbed a nickel overnight, oil still holding $73 the barrel. That is because President Trump says he is not sure if there will be a return to an all-out conflict with Iran, but says he is still ready to finish the job. Iran is doubling down in the Strait of Hormuz, where 25 commercial vessels crossed yesterday, with only 1 using the U.S. preferred lane near Oman.
So if you think about this, is the chance of the Iranian regime just saying, you know what, we need to be good guys. We've been bad for 47 years to America, and we don't want to kill Americans. I was reading an article, why would you believe that you could get the Iranian people to go after the regime and help America get rid of that group? Because they see these people running around, death to America with their banners, death to America, death to Israel, death to Trump, death, 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 death. It's the same as these lunatics in America that are saying Trump is this and Trump is that and Trump is terrible. Well, guess what? There's 100 times more that are saying this needs to stop. Like I said yesterday, there's the crazy Dems and the ones you never hear from that are going, God, what are we going to do? These people are nuts on our side. The same as on the Republican side. When is John Thune ever going to do anything? We look like idiots. All of those things are true. But it's usually the very small percentage. It's like the LGBTQ, ABC, MNLPQRST group. They're a loud group that has made it so that you're uncomfortable to say, stop, it's BS. You're not going to be fair to me if you say anything. So everybody's afraid to say it. People who know me know that that's not my problem. But Trump has to do something, and I think it has to be happening fast. I think we're at a point, this is my opinion, I think we're at a point now where something drastic has to happen. They attacked, they being Iran, they attacked other people in the Middle East and the bases, and people will die from that. And this is their retribution BS. They think it's going to do something and get them through this, and that's not the case. It's just not. So, Trump's trying to give peace a chance. I don't think there's any peace that's going to happen. I don't think there's a chance of having any piece of peace. We'll see. We'll see. We got another weekend here. Trump likes to do stuff on the weekends. I think he thinks everybody in Iran goes home on the weekend and just grills out, does stuff, the regime, and they grill out on the deck and, they just relax and everybody goes home and nobody's doing anything. Trump doesn't believe that. I'm joking, but he does stuff on the weekends. Speaking of the weekends, and I'm talking more about the weekend of the week ass of Ro Khanna and other people on this whole thing, the grifters that raise money on nonsense. And one of them that is really showing his face a lot is Ro Khanna. A lot of people don't even know who Ro Khanna is or or how he got there. Ro Khanna is a California politician who has come on to Fox News and Newsmax, and he goes on to different programs, and he sounds somewhat in the middle. He sounds kind of common sense. And then you hear the truth come out. And then you see him campaigning for Platner when people know what Platner was. Watch this little montage of Ro Khanna. And these are things that's important, because these are the parts when you talk to your liberal friends and you tell them why it's important to vote and vote Republican to save our country. This is an example. So take a moment and watch this.
I've led the fight with Thomas Massey to release the Epstein files and demand accountability for sexual abuse. Because Democrats believe in respecting the equality and the dignity of women, and we always will. And we reject unequivocally misogyny. We reject it. But you know who else rejects it? Graham Platner. Those years that he came back were not the best years of his life. He was ashamed of some of the things he said and did. And then he, unlike others, took accountability for it. We need to find some way of having grace. We need to find some way of having redemption. We need to find some way of saying that if someone felt hurt by Graham in a past relationship, we can listen to them and we can listen to Graham and we can have conversations as mature Americans, as fellow citizens. But the character that really matters right now is the character to be willing to stand up to the powers that be, to stand up and tell the truth about the billionaire class, about the Epstein class.
So, first of all, his whole thing, the Epstein files that he brought up, that was a precursor when he was talking about or getting to Platner. And this was a precursor to start covering up for Platner before it all blew up with both the poll that shows that he couldn't win and the Democrat woman that reported that she had been raped by Platner. And they had no way to get around it. So he puts in that little piece about Epstein, because that's got to be, it's all the Republicans are bad and they were all on the airplane and on the island. That's the way they think that people are stupid enough to believe. And there are those that believe that. But this cover up and nonsense about Platner is just crazy. Now, of course, everybody's backing off. There's still a few people out there that are saying that it was the establishment that just had to get rid of him because he couldn't win. That doesn't nullify the fact that there is a woman, a number of women actually, that have reported abuse and being hurt and being raped by Graham Platner. But they can't let that all be out there. It's a conspiracy. It's the establishment. It's the press. Now they're blaming the press for this, who's been covering up for the Democrats all along. So now you've got Ro Khanna and trying to cover up. Now, of course, he's quiet on that. Bernie Sanders has backed off. Now they've got to get somebody else in office. And that's a problem. So here's you've got your little state of Maine up in the total northeast of the country, state. And they have like 17 or maybe 20 some days to have a new candidate. Now, they've known what the problem was with Platner all along. They've known. They've continually known. And as much as they knew about this going on, they couldn't push enough with Platner to get him out before this totally blew up and it's too late. So now how do they get a new candidate on the ballot? Well, that's a problem because they don't really want to do what they did with Kamala Harris with Biden jumping out, because that didn't go well. But how do you have a vote for a candidate to run for Senate against Susan Collins with a couple of weeks left? How do you do that? How do you get the ballots together and get this election going and get that done? And it always takes them 25 days just to count the votes. Wouldn't take that much now, would it? And now they've got that problem. How do they do that? And the whole interesting part of this is the candidates that are wanting to jump in are the same ones that jumped out because they knew they couldn't beat Platner, which makes you wonder, how in the hell did Platner get 70% of the vote? People didn't know because the press didn't say anything. Nobody paid attention. They wanted change. We have to have change. Well, you're getting change. Now you get this guy that's kind of the supposed leader of the group of who could be a Senate candidate, Troy Jackson. And this guy, sorry, spam risk. This guy is bad news too. But interestingly, MS Now is now starting to ask questions of these people because egg on the face is not good when you're on a news show. When you've been lying all along and now you got to figure out how you're going to get out of this. Well, you ask the guys that got out and are running now, didn't anybody know before this? Watch this.
Well, let me ask you about Platner. You supported him. You bragged about being one of the first supporters of him. Why did you stick with him for so long? Why did you stick with him after the Nazi tattoo? Why did you stick with him after the New York Times article and the aggressive women stuff? Stick with him after the Reddit posts that were arguably racist and sexist? I know he denies the sexual misconduct allegations, but why did you stay with him for so long?
Well, the Nazi tattoo and the Reddit posts, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I haven't even ever been on Reddit. But, you know, when people talked about those things and he turned around and said, you know, that these were times whenever they were dark for him and, you know, he'd grown and all this stuff. I mean, they were, you know, a different time period for him. And I understood, you know, that people can change.
All these things. That's the key words in what he just said. All these things. It wasn't just one. It wasn't abuse, just one. It wasn't attack. That's not one. It wasn't the rape charges. That's not one. It's all of them. And so there's a point where you go, yeah, people can change, but this isn't a changing guy. And are you still going? So this guy's going to be the candidate or a candidate for senator to replace Platner. You know, well, you know, I don't know anything about Reddit, never been there. Why wouldn't somebody say, you know, I didn't know about this. I should have been more informed. I didn't get the information from the Democrat committee that's running the state. We didn't know about these things. Of course they didn't, because they had put their candidate in and he got 70%. And everybody backed off. But all you have to do is watch the guy. He's the Slick Willie of the Newsom side in California. He can tell you a great story, not the story, but he can tell you a story. He can claim everything is whatever he wants to call it, but that isn't the way it works. So that's Maine's problem. And now what are they going to do? If I were going to bet, and the people that watch this show, I'd be interested in your comments. What do you think is going to happen? And this is to be pretty quick response because it's got to happen fast. Do you think that they're going to have an election to decide where the public gets to vote? Do you think that the Democratic Party is going to vote on who's going to be the candidate? When I say the party, the committee party, the main Democrat group? Or do you think that somebody's just going to say, yeah, it's going to be this guy, and they put him in? What do you think? I got a pretty good idea. We'll find out. But this same problem is happening in Michigan. They have a person that they should be worried about. But because they're so liberal on the Democrat side, they're letting this guy go, and that's El-Sayed. Abdul El-Sayed. Scary dude. Smart, articulate. I don't want to tell the whole story because I got a couple of videos on this. But watch this. This is El-Sayed talking about universal health. This should scare everyone that he might be able to get into the Senate and affect votes, especially if they get power.
I think you need to guarantee health care for everyone, cradle to grave, without premium, copay, deductible. That's how. That's Medicare for all. And I just want you to imagine, right, that card that you get via your private health insurer, that card sits in your back pocket. You pay a ton of money for it, and it goes away if you lose your job. Now, imagine you had one right there that you got the day you were born that doesn't expire until you expire, God willing, after a long, healthy life at 120 years old in your sleep. You don't lose it if you turn 26. You don't lose it if you turn 65. You don't lose it if you get married, get divorced. It doesn't matter. It's there for you. There's no network, and there's no cost out of pocket. That's the security people need and deserve. We could do.
That's what people deserve? Who's going to pay for it? This idea, no charge, no copay, no nothing. You just go in and you get health care. Well, they've tried that in many countries. Those guys just north of us, called Canada, sort of kind of have that. And everybody comes down to the United States to get surgeries because the wait is just too long. They don't have the doctors they would like to have, but there's a control on how much doctors can make, no matter how hard you work. And they have to work harder because there's not enough doctors. And this free, who in the hell pays for it? In the end, those who get the health care are going to pay for it in their taxes, because every Democrat that's ever said this is all paid for, it won't be paid for, and they're going to have to raise taxes. It's scary. So this guy, it's bad enough that he wants Medicare for all. We've got a number of idiots like that in politics right now. But then you've got this guy that the other part of his thinking, if you want to call it that, is that he doesn't want Israel to be recognized. He has said that. And he gets asked and pushed back pretty hard by CNN, which again, these people in the press, they're starting to realize we better start doing our job, because we're going to lose all of our viewers. Watch this and the pushback against El-Sayed by CNN.
Do you believe Israel has a right to exist?
So, Casey, AIPAC's become a big issue in this election because AIPAC's already spent $30 million in this election. They're by far the biggest spender in the race. Now, the question about a right to exist, it's interesting because nobody's ever asked me whether or not I believe Palestine has a right to exist. Every single president who served has said that they believe in a two-state solution.
There is no Palestine. None. And this two-state solution, that would be setting up Palestine, the country. And it isn't that easy. You can't go down to the government building and sign up for a new country. Continue.
Israel exists. The question is whether or not we want a politics where our money is sent over to Israel to do genocide and apartheid instead of investing in our own kids.
You say it exists, but does it have a right to?
No, I didn't say that. I just said the question of Israel's existence is not a question. I'm not going to play this gotcha game about whether or not it has a right to exist. The question ultimately is about whether or not we want a politics that dignifies.
You're not going to play the gotcha game, but you're not going to say you think Israel has a right to exist.
Well, my question, Casey, I think the question we all ought to ask is, does everybody have equal rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination? That's Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians. And to me, the folks who should answer what the ultimate peace there looks like should be Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians. I want my tax dollars spent here in Michigan to provide schools in Michigan, to build healthcare in Michigan, to invest in Michigan, rather than to be sent abroad to kill Palestinian people, do genocides and apartheid. The question about whether or not Israel has a right to exist is actually quite secondary to whether or not they have a right to our tax dollars. And people don't ask that question in good faith.
Okay, so Abdul el-Sayed, who started the war between Gaza and Israel? Oh, October 7th, attack of a rally, a party, killing thousands of people, taking prisoners, many who died in tunnels in Gaza. You mean that group? El-Sayed? Is that really? He really thinks that people are so stupid they don't know that October 7th happened. They just, guess what? Israel just attacked the Palestinians in Gaza, and there's people dying, and the tax money's going to that. Well, first of all, that's wrong. It's incorrect. And there is no Palestine. But he's a slick Willie, too, and or also. But he got caught in something else. This is amazing. I did some research on this because when I watched this video, I went, what? Wait a minute. This guy's a doctor? El-Sayed is a doctor? Well, I found the truth, but this clip is classic. This is a guy asking El-Sayed when he claimed that he was a physician. Watch this.
You got attacked by your rivals for calling yourself a physician, not just a doctor, even though you don't have a valid state medical license in New York or Michigan, which apparently is what you need legally to call yourself a physician. Do you wish you'd just stuck to calling yourself a doctor, which you are, to avoid all of this controversy and attacks on your physician status?
You know, at the end of the day, it's not about whether or not I'm a physician or a doctor. The question is, can you see a doctor? It's not about my education. It's about whether or not your kid gets a good education. So
well,
I'm just not spending
that's a good
time.
line, but people would say it's also about, did you tell the truth?
Well, I would say that I was the health director for the city of Detroit. I've done more to provide more people health care or eliminate their medical debt than most doctors have done in their practice career.
Well, that's just the most ill-stated thing you could say. What a nonsense thing to say. He's been caught. He should talk to Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, and maybe he would understand that you don't say you're a physician and claim you're a physician because you've helped more people than doctors have. Does that all of a sudden make you a doctor of medicine? And by the way, doctor of medicine is do no harm, so lying wouldn't be a good thing either, would it? Well, it's so easy to do this show because these people are crazy. And I get these things and I sit here in amazement sometimes. Other times I laugh. So we started the show. We're not at the end of the show quite yet, but we started the show with the tax cuts. Now I want to show you something because this is important. This is a positive thing. I'm throwing little positives in. This is a positive thing. This is about Trump accounts, which I think it's 1.5 million people have joined in to the Trump accounts. Look at this. So these $1,000 today, what it can become. If you put in $1,000 today, he's putting $1,000 in. If you do nothing, you don't put anything in at all, that $1,000 when they're 18 will be $5,800. Not a lot. If you're age 28, it'll be $18,100. That's if you do nothing. You just $1,000 goes into the account, and all of a sudden you've got $18,000. Or if you pay the maximum, which is $5,000 a year, a lot of people can't do that. I get it. But if you can put $5,000 a year in, at 18, you've got $300,000. Now that's $420 a month. If I were a parent and I know that I got to put my kids through college, at 18, I could have $300,000. I'm putting $420 into this account. And if they keep it in that account till they're 28, they've got $1 million, almost $1.1 million. That's from the start of that $1,000 investment by Trump in the Trump account. That's a big deal. Think about that. These are the things that everybody needs to understand and be able to comprehend, because when we keep saying, hey, this is an advantage for Americans, Trump is doing this for America. These are the examples. These are the things that continue to happen, and nobody on the Democrat side wants to admit it. Wants to admit that oil prices now per barrel is right around $70, $72 a barrel today. You know, we're going through the straits. We're getting through that. We're probably going to blow up things and take over Carg Island. That's my prediction. But Iran is not going to learn a lesson. So enough of that. I've got 5 minutes and I want to get in a couple of things. So this whole thing with citizenship and the illegals that are dying because of ICE. And then they have to name these people, but they don't want to talk about other things like the illegals and what they're doing to Americans. Watch this on CNN when Navarro is naming these people. This is classic.
It's happened, but there's been now at least 5 people killed by ICE in the streets of America. Ruben Rey Martinez, they killed a young man, they killed in San Padre Island in Texas. Silverio Villegas Gonzalez, Keith Porter, they killed him in LA. Renee Good and Alex Preddy, they killed them in Minnesota. And now Lorenzo Salgado Araujo. There's been
Do you know the names as well of Americans who've been killed by illegal immigrants? Do you have that list?
I know
too?
some of the names. I don't have the list, but I do know some of the names.
What are their names? What are some of their names?
Listen, we have heard all of the names.
No, just what are some of their names?
This is not me doing a contest of whether you know the names or whether I know the names. I want to pronounce these names because I think we need to put names and faces and
I agree.
Stories.
Right? Absolutely.
Okay, so
and to the faces
when you
of Americans who have been killed by illegal immigrants as well.
The people they killed
absolutely
don't have criminal records.
What are their names?
The people
Laken Riley,
killed.
Jocelyn Nungare, Kate Steinle.
And what are the names of people that have been killed by U.S. citizens?
How is that relevant to this?
Well, you want to start talking about people who've been killed, then let's start talking about people who've been killed in this country. So there's a hell of a lot more people that have been killed by U.S. citizens than people who have been killed by illegal aliens. And that's not what we are talking about right now. We are talking about a government agency that is out of control, killing even American citizens, killing immigrants without a criminal record, that are not the targets of the investigation, lying about it as they have done, and there being no full investigations and accountability.
Man, is she that stupid? Or is she trying to throw the BS at the screen? Think about this. She's claiming that ICE is killing citizens of America, that they're killing the illegals that are innocent. Do we really believe, do we want to, at the end of a week of what we've seen and what we've seen for the last number of years with the Democrats, do we really believe that ICE is out there drawing their weapon and shooting people just to shoot them? And those names, I couldn't understand the names to be able to do the research, but I would put about a 90% chance that they attacked, they took off running, they had a weapon on them. Something occurred, kind of like a car, which is a weapon. That's where we are. You have these people that say these things, and that Sunshine, I think is her name. I can't think of her first name. She worked in the Trump administration, and she's brave enough to be on a dais on CNN with a bunch of liberals saying, name the people that have been killed by the illegals. And she says, hey, we're not talking about those. Well, yeah, we should be. because they're the people that are killing Americans, that are raping Americans, that are abusing Americans, who are kidnapping Americans, who are doing drug running against Americans, I guess you could say on that. These are bad people. But no, we're just going to talk about the few that got shot, but we won't talk about why they got shot, because that really wouldn't work. We can't have that. There you go. Monday through Friday, we do this, man. I love it. It's not a game. It's America. And I love America. And those of you that watch this show probably love America too. And those of you that don't, that watch this show, let some of this sink in. It'll make a difference for you. All right. Hope you have a good weekend. I will catch you Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern time. I hope you have an awesome weekend. Get that grill going. You know, just like the Iranian regime, you know, they go out on the deck, make your steaks and probably not. No, I don't think that's happening. But you do it. Enjoy your weekend. I'll talk to you Monday, 1 o'clock. Until then, rock on.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for your support.